Thank you for staying with us. It's the ninth year anniversary of the abduction of 276 schoolgirls from the government girls' secondary school, Chibokgirls State. And families of the more than 90 girls yet to return say the memory of the sad incident of April the 14th, 2014 remains etched in their memory. The ill-fated night of April the 14th, some 9 years ago, altered the lives of 276 schoolgirls and their families and went on to change the dynamics of education in the Northeast, with many schools in the region forced to shut down for fear of attacks. In total, 219 girls were taken away that day, and the Chibok abduction now represents a small fraction of the number of people taken by Boko Haram and other armed terrorists. According to Amnesty International, in 2022, more than 1,500 Nigerian school children had so far been abducted by armed groups. For many families still missing a daughter till this day, they remain conflicted on the emotions they experience, whether to stay hopeful for their return or give up and move on as one who has lost a child forever. Activists, including the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls movement, say they will continue to remember the missing girls each year to evoke empathy and inspire action that should lead to the rescue of the 96 girls that remain in captivity. Well, joining us to talk about the missing girls via Zoom from the UK is Ronke Adiagbo, founder and CEO, IA Foundation. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thanks for having me, Victoria.
Right. Now, it's been 9 years, and the government, initially, this outgoing government, promised while it was coming into power in 2015, that they will do all they can to bring back these girls. Yet, not much was seen to have been done. I wonder, what do you think went wrong in our managing or handling of this matter of bringing back the girls?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say my hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to the parents and the family of the remaining 98 girls that are still missing. And suffice to say, these girls are no longer girls, they are now women. Because these girls, when they were abducted, they were between 16 to 18 years, and 9 years on now, they are now adults. This will always be leadership of this country. We still have over 98 girls in captivity. This is really, really sad. This happened during the tenure of President Goodluck Jonathan, and he tried his best as much as possible, but suffice to say that his best was not good enough. Yes, most of the girls have been released, but what's happening to the remaining 98 girls? We all know what's been happening to those girls in captivity. They've been raped repeatedly, they've been flogged, most of them have had kids, some of them were actually picked up by the military on the road with their children. Why should anyone be subjected to this? How can every government go to sleep at night knowing 98 women are still in captivity and nobody seems to be bothered or interested or actually talking about this from the rooftop? This should be a standing agenda item in the government's meeting. Until all those girls get back home, this government will not cover itself in glory.
All right. From the standpoint now, of course, we knew how the Bring Back Our Girls hashtag went viral around the world, and the impact of it and the response from around the world, of course, it's been so many years after that time right now. But do you think Nigeria and Nigerians have moved on from the Chibok girls kidnap?
We cannot move on, and we shouldn't move on, because if one of those women are our children, would we be able to move on? There is a saying in Yoruba saying that it is better for your child to be dead than for your child to be missing. Can you imagine the agony which those parents have been going through every day they've been waking up for the last 9 years? I don't wish it for my enemy. So until those girls get back, until those women get back, the government should not stop. They should continue trying their best to make sure they rescue those women from wherever they are. I'm sure most of them have got babies now. Most of them have been married, and they are now adults, so they might choose not to want to return. But the government must continue persistently try their best to make sure they try and rescue those girls. This kidnap got international recognition, and we had lots of movements, raising awareness about the issue. But you hardly hear the government saying anything about it. I expect the government to be talking about this repeatedly to show that they are genuinely interested in rescuing those girls and making their parents and family happy again.
One thing that Nigerians have been asking is the matter of if we have learned lessons with regards to the kidnap of these girls, because we have continued to see kidnapping of children from schools unabated. Recently, about 80 students were said to have been kidnapped from a particular school somewhere in Zamfara. And now the question is, are we learning lessons? At some point, we talked about the Safe Schools initiative. How far have we come with that? What are we doing with that? Talk to us the government's commitment to ensuring safe spaces for children.
Yes, from the very outset, the government got it very, very wrong. It took the government over 3 weeks before they actually could make a public announcement about these Chibokgirls. Initially, they were in denial, right? So within that 3 weeks, the government should have done something more proactive to actually rescue those girls, get international assistance. For a government to take 3 weeks to make the announcement when everyone all over the world were already talking about it, for me, it's not the best. And also, now that thankfully, the number of kidnapping has reduced, but the impact of those children that were kidnapped is now increasing the number of out-of-school children. As you know, the number of out-of-school children now stands at 20.2. Before the kidnapping started, it was 10.8. So that's almost doubled. That's the implication of that. And with our children not going to school, especially in the north, we all know the implication of that. That's the reason why we've got increase in security challenges in the country. So my advice to the government of the day, especially the incoming government, because now President Buhari is rounding up, so he might not be able to do much. But for the incoming government, I would want to remind them of their manifesto. Because in their manifesto, the new incoming government said they're going to set up an out-of-school unit that will be responsible for making sure children actually go to school. Because it's this insecurity that has increased out-of-school children. So to ensure we do not have further security challenges in future, it's important that the government sets up this unit, and the number of out-of-school children is a standing agenda in the weekly government meeting to make sure we can reduce the number of out-of-school children and improve the economy of our country.
All right, the Chibokgirls is only a metaphor to represent what girls are going through. Because we know that besides the Chibokgirls kidnap, there were several other kidnaps of not even just girls, but even boys after that time, up until even the most recent one. And I wonder how this is impacting the interest of parents to enroll their children in schools. What's your assessment?
Yes, so that's what I've just said. That has increased the number of out of school, especially in the northern area. So where you have high insecurity, the result of that is that you have an increase in the number of out of school children. And we all know what that means for Nigeria when we have a lot of out of school children. Now, I must give credit to the governor of Borno State, Governor Bamanga Tuko. He has really worked tirelessly to reverse all that. He has built new schools, introduced new digital devices for the children to use. He has actually gone out to parents to encourage them to send their kids back to school, reassuring them that there's enough security in those schools for those children to come back to school. So slowly but surely, those children are coming back into school. And I will encourage the incoming new governors as well to borrow a leaf from what Governor the governor of Borno State has done.
Babagana
So what I want to suggest is that the number of out-of-school children in every state to be a priority for every governor of the state. It is absolutely critical that we put this Chibok story behind us. And the only way we can put it behind us and to make sure we give our children a good legacy is to reduce the number of out-of-school children, because the increase in number of out-of-school children is as a consequence of those kidnapping. So to give them a good legacy is to make sure every government strive to reduce the number of out-of-school children in their states and overall in Nigeria.
Babagana Zulum, you meant. That's fine.
All right. Now, the matter of, you've been talking about incoming government with addressing matters of out-of-school children. But there's also the aspect of building the confidence of parents to release their children back to schools. Beyond the matter of addressing out-of-school children, how would you want the government, the incoming government, to address this matter of education, ensuring safe spaces for children?
Okay. So one of the things I would like to encourage the government to do is to assess the security in their states. Especially in the north, we have lots of ungoverned areas. So it's important that these schools are not in those areas, because those children in those areas will be very vulnerable to kidnapping. The government should consider having what we call mega schools to make sure they've got very big schools in the city center. So they've got loads of children there. So even when the kidnappers come, the children might even overwhelm the kidnappers because there will be so many of them. So that will make the parents have a sense of security that, you know what, there's loads of children in that school. And if anyone comes with a truck to want to kidnap them, the children would actually overwhelm them. They need to have an awareness procedure whereby they might even go door to door, knocking door to door, encouraging parents who've got children who don't want to send them to school to reassure them that the school environment is now very safe. Also to make sure we've got security personnel on ground in the school. So they are very visible, what I call boots on ground. So they are so visible to the parents. So when their parents are taking their kids to school, they are reassured that their kids will not be kidnapped because there's security personnel in the school. Also, schools need to get involved in what I call safeguarding. They need to train their staff on safeguarding. They also need to ensure when they recruit teachers or school staff, they've gone through a vetting process to make sure they are not members of any kidnapping ring, to make sure they are safe to work within school environment or to work with school children. So it's important that every state have a vetting process to make sure all school staff are properly vetted.
All right, let's talk about the Stockholm Syndrome that could set in, or that set in after a while. A lot of these girls, like you mentioned sometime, after a while, in fact, we heard of it. There was a report that I think two of the Chibokgirls at the time preferred to go back, to join their so-called husbands after having children for them and bonding with them after a while. Now, this is almost a decade of these girls being away. How will this compound the situation of the government trying to get them back from these people, if they're still alive, getting them back to meet with their original family after spending 10 years, and some of them have children?
Yeah, that's indeed a tall order. As I said that in my introduction, these girls are now women. They are adults, and they are entitled to whatever they want to do. So even if the government tries to rescue them, if they choose not to want to be rescued and they would prefer to stay with their husbands, there isn't much that the government can do because they are adults and they've got their own rights. And naturally, based on human nature, if you've been sleeping with a particular man for years, you've had children through that man, naturally, it will be very difficult for you to want to let go of that particular man. So it will be very, very difficult now for the government to be able to say to those girls, no, you need to leave that man, we want to rescue you. It will be so difficult. But as we all know, these girls, who are mostly Christians, were married off to these men against their wishes. And I would like to believe that somewhere within them, they would have the courage to be able to say, this is not for me, I don't need to be here, I didn't plan to have children with this man, and I will welcome any initiative from the government to rescue me from this situation, because I can do better for myself than where I am at the moment. Because as we all know, some of the Chibok girls that were rescued were flown to America. Some of them even met with the president of America then, and they are doing well academically. So we should be able to use these girls as an example that if you live where you are, you could be like this person. You could get good education and do well for yourself in life. So the government should try and reorientate these girls or women now to make them realize you could have a better life than you currently have in your detention camp.
Right. Now, let's look at the impact or the implication of these kinds of interruptions in the life of children. Some of the girls that were rescued are complaining of stigmatization and all of it, and that we don't really know. And in fact, some of them were also complaining that some of the courses they are learning in schools is not what they really want to learn. And so we are getting some complaints here and there. But on the whole, when you look at the kind of interruption and the impact this has had on the lives of the girls and perhaps children, other children that we do not know about that have been kidnapped, talk to us about the implication and the kind of impact this has on their lives.
Without a doubt, these girls will have been traumatized. And this is something they will have to live with for the rest of their life. It's not fair for anyone to live with this. These girls never asked for this. The only crime these girls have committed is that they went to get education. They went to school for education. And as a consequence, look at what has happened to their life. In saner crimes, they would have put those girls through a psychological session, giving them new identities. Because as you know, in Nigeria, if any man is aware that a girl was part of the Chibok girls that was kidnapped and know what they've gone through in terms of the rape and the torture they've gone through, no man will want to marry them. Yeah, and this is a stigma for life. So I would imagine, and I would like to advise the government to try and give these girls new identity, to make sure no one can link them to the Chibok kidnapping, and also to give them a better life. Their whole family, move them out of whatever environment they are, move them to an entirely new environment, change their standard of living, give them good education, reform their lives so that they can, at some point, see some good out of what has come out of this disaster.
All right, we have heard various reports of terrorists surrendering to Nigerian armed forces, where at different times they have, abandoned their course, abandoned their weapons to say they are no longer terrorists. Some of them have been reintegrated after going through some processes and reintegrated back into the community. And he has generated lots of concerns from Nigerians regarding these people, the kind of atrocities they have committed over the years. I wonder what your assessment is regarding that, the terrorists who carry out some of these, even including the kidnap of Chibok girls. Some of them could have been amongst those who have decided to surrender, and life now goes on for them.
Yes. Amnesty and forgiveness is part of the restorative process. I mean, we are all sinners. We've all sinned. We've all done something wrong. So if a kidnapper decides to reflect and change their ways, and we have the reassurance that they've changed, right? In my opinion, there should be a process where you rehabilitate them. You don't absorb them into the society straight away. They might have a situation where, like a camp, where you take them through a process of rehabilitation, whereby you make them realize what they've done. Sometimes you might even carry out what we call restorative justice. Make them understand the impact of what they've done on the lives of these people, and make them feel remorseful. And sometimes you might have to even give them a penalty for them to understand that, what you've done is absolutely, absolutely wrong, but we recognize that you've repented now and that you want to get back into the society, but you need to go through a whole process, to rehabilitate them, to make sure the government is 110% convinced that they are genuine and that they will not go back to their old ways again.
Now, for a day like this, how do we commemorate this day, knowing that the families of these girls who are yet to be returned are still there and hoping? Some information we got at some point was that the government was not engaging them, and so they were just left on their own. How should we commemorate such a day, putting them in mind?
Okay. Yeah, so basically, if I was the president of Nigeria, I'll be making a statement today, remembering those girls and encouraging the nation that the government is trying their best to still rescue them. Luckily, today is Friday. So in every mosque today, they should remember those girls in their prayers. Also, the government should actually contact the parents of those 98 girls to commiserate with them, to encourage them, to give them hope that their children are possibly still alive and the government will still try their best to get their children from captivity. These people need hope. They need reassurance because this has devastated their lives. The government needs to change the environment in which these parents are living and give them a better life as a way of compensating them, for the trauma they've gone through. Also, all over the world, foreign embassies should also make a pronouncement about the Chibokgirls or put an announcement out remembering the Chibokgirls. So we need to make this seem like a big issue for our nation because, as I said, it's an open wound on the conscience of this country.
Right. Are you hopeful that these girls, the 98 of them, will be rescued and be returned to their homes? Are you still hopeful of that?
There's a new government coming in. I'm not hopeful with this current government because they haven't got much days left. So I'm hopeful that the new government coming in will put their money where their mouth is and they will try their best to make sure they rescue those girls. I'm those women now, as I keep saying. I am hopeful. I live in hope. I believe those girls are not happy where they are, and I think they want to be rescued. So I would encourage the incoming government to try their best to get the military to get these girls out of wherever they are. With intelligence, let's link up with the international community. Let's get assistance from them to get these girls out. When an American was kidnapped, the Americans came in, rescued their citizen. So let's enlist the support of other countries to get these girls out. They don't deserve the type of life they are living. They deserve better. And the government, the incoming government, to try their best. This is a low-hanging fruit for the incoming government. If they can get these girls out, they'll be very popular with Nigerians.
But the Nigerian government has always said that they do not need the assistance of from any external government, so to speak.
So if they don't need help, why haven't they been able to rescue the remaining 98 girls? And even those that were rescued, they were used as a bargaining chip. They released so many number of girls and then the government released some Boko Haram prisoners. Is that the way to go? No, I don't think so. So in my opinion, there's nothing wrong in asking for help. We go out there into the international world to ask for financial assistance and support and other supports. Why are we shying away from the fact that this is a very difficult problem for us to solve? It's been 9 years on. Please, we need your help. There's nothing wrong in that.
We saw how civil society organizations and so many institutions bought into the call for the return of the girls that give birth to the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. How do we create that kind of network and agreement, social agreement again, that will put pressure on government to work towards returning these girls?
I just want to give credit to the Bring Back Our Girls movement. They've tried tirelessly to try and convince the government of the day that this needs to be prioritized. What I want to suggest is that more NGOs should come together and work collaboratively to be able to put pressure on the government. But as we know in Nigeria, it's not for want of trying. Most NGOs have put pressure on the government, but sometimes the government is sometimes not, they don't have the political will to be able to deal with these issues. So we as an NGO or as the collaboration of NGOs, we shouldn't stop. We shouldn't give up hope. I am hopeful that those girls will be released, but we need to put the pressure on because in my opinion, I think the pressure has been off. We need to continue piling the pressure, especially with the new government coming in now. Let's put the pressure on. Those girls need to come out of where they are. So my suggestion is they need to work collaboratively because just one NGO or two NGOs cannot do it. Let's work together to get them out.
All right, Ronke Adiagbo, founder and CEO, IA Foundation. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thanks for having me.
All right.